Hello everyone, and welcome to Wicked Encounters, where we explore just what goes bump in the night. I'm your host Allie, and it's every horror fan's favorite time of year, October. In celebration of the spookiest month, I've compiled a list of movies that I think are worth sharing with you guys, and I'm calling it the 31 Days of Wicked Horror. We're on the 18th day of October now, my all-time favorite day. But in case it's your first time checking in, I'll tell you how I've selected these movies that I believe are worthy enough for you to watch. First off, none of the movies are going to be older than 20 years, so we can add some newer videos to our must-watch lists instead of continuing to repeat the same ones from 50 years ago. Last house on the left, hi! Glad you can make it. Secondly, I'll be providing the synopsis and plot of the movies for those who may not like surprises or just want to listen to know what the movies are about. There will be a slide letting you know when we're coming up on it, and I'll let you know where it's safe to click on to avoid spoilers. Also, while many of the movies are streamable, I'm not going to really provide the info on where you can watch them because it varies based on where you live, and streaming services are notoriously unreliable. Finally, I'm going to give you some reasons as to why the movie stands out and why I think you'll like it. With that, 18th on our list is The Invitation, and no, not the 2022 movie on Netflix. The Invitation is a 2015 psychological horror thriller directed by Karen Kusama, written by Phil Hay and Matt Manfredi, and produced by Game Changer Films, League Artists, and XYZ Films. Known for its slow burn tension and chilling atmosphere, the story revolves around Will, who receives an invitation to a dinner party hosted by his ex-wife, Eden, and her new husband, David, at their former home in the Hollywood Hills. This house is where Will and Eden lived together before their marriage fell apart, following the tragic death of their young son, Ty. Not gonna lie, personally, I don't think I would, go if I was being invited by an ex who has remarried, but to each their own. I'm gonna go more in depth and go over the plot of the movie now, so if you'd like to skip, you'll know where to skip to in 3, 2, 1. The film begins with Will and his girlfriend Kira driving to the dinner party, but along the way, they hit a coyote, which Will is forced to put out of its misery. Poor puppy. This event sets an ominous tone, hinting at the dark and unsettling nature of what is to come. When Will and Kira arrive at the party, they are greeted by Eden, David, and a group of mutual friends including Tommy, Miguel, Ben, Gina, and Claire. There are also 2 newcomers, Pruitt and Sadie, who are friends of Eden and David. The atmosphere is initially awkward, with Will clearly uncomfortable being back in his old home, surrounded by memories of his deceased son. Eden, however, seems oddly serene and distant, which only deepens Will's unease. As the evening progresses, Will begins to notice strange and unsettling behavior from Eden and David. The couple introduces the group to a mysterious spiritual movement they've joined called The Invitation, which claims to help people deal with grief and find peace. They show the group a disturbing video featuring the cult's leader, Dr. Joseph, and a terminally ill woman who calmly accepts her death as part of her spiritual journey. This presentation is met with a mix of discomfort and disbelief by the guests, but Eden and David insist that it has helped them overcome their grief. Will becomes increasingly suspicious of David and Eden's intentions, especially after a series of odd events. The doors are locked from the inside, preventing anyone from leaving without permission. Sadie makes strange and aggressive advances towards Will, and Pruitt tells a disturbing story about how he accidentally killed his wife, an event that he claims he had come to terms with through The Invitation. Will's paranoia grows as he starts to believe that something sinister is happening. As Will's anxiety escalates, he begins to question his own sanity. He has flashbacks of his life with Eden and their son, which are interspersed with the eerie calmness of the current dinner party. He tries to warn his friends that something is wrong, but they dismiss his concerns as paranoia or unresolved grief. The tension reaches a breaking point when one of the guests, Claire, decides to leave early, feeling uncomfortable with the evening's proceedings. David initially tries to stop her, but eventually relents, allowing Pruitt to escort her to her car. Will is suspicious, but when Pruitt returns alone, he claims Claire left safely. The dinner continues, but Will's suspicions are confirmed when he discovers a hidden bottle of poison in the kitchen. He confronts the group during a toast, accusing David and Eden of planning something terrible. The situation quickly escalates, and David's true intentions are revealed. He and Eden, along with their cult followers, plan to murder their guests as part of a mass suicide ritual, believing they will find peace in the afterlife. David, Eden, Pruitt, and Sadie launch into a brutal attack on the guests, using guns and knives to kill them. Chaos ensues as the guests fight for their lives. Will and Kira manage to defend themselves, killing Sadie and Pruitt in the process. Eden, who is conflicted by her love for Will, shoots him, but fails to kill him. She then turns the gun on herself, unable to cope with the reality of what she has done. In the film's tense and chilling climax, Will and Kira step outside the house, shaken and traumatized by the night's events. They look out across the Hollywood Hills and see countless red lanterns glowing in the darkness, identical to the one David lit in their backyard earlier. The lanterns are signals, revealing that the mass suicide ritual was not isolated to their group, but part of a coordinated event happening throughout the city, suggesting that many others have been killed in similar gatherings. And with that, the film ends. Welcome back! To those who stayed, I hope you enjoyed what you heard enough to give it a watch. And for those who skipped, if you like thrillers, you're in for a treat. But I bet you're wondering why it made it onto the list. What makes The Invitation stand out? Well, for one, it's got slow burn tension. The Invitation excels in building tension gradually. The film takes its time to develop the characters, setting, and atmosphere, which makes the eventual revelation and violence all the more shocking. The slow pacing allows for a deep sense of unease to permeate the film, with each small oddity adding to the growing sense of dread. Psychological horror. Rather than relying on jump scares or overt supernatural elements, The Invitation delves into psychological horror. The fear comes from the characters' interactions, the manipulation of reality, and the unsettling ambiguity of Will's perception. The audience is kept in a state of uncertainty, questioning whether Will's suspicions are valid or if he's simply paranoid. Exploration of grief and trauma. The film is as much about grief and trauma as it is about horror. It explores how different people cope with loss, with Eden choosing to suppress her pain through a dangerous cult, and Will grappling with his grief in a more raw, unresolved manner. This emotional depth adds layers to the horror, making it not just about survival, but about the psychological scars left by tragedy. Atmospheric and minimalist style. The film's minimalist approach, with its single setting and limited cast, creates an intimate and claustrophobic atmosphere. The Hollywood Hills house, once a home full of happy memories for Will, becomes a sinister and confining space. The use of lighting, particularly the contrast between the warmly lit interiors and the dark, ominous exteriors, enhance the feelings of entrapment. Subtlety and ambiguity. The Invitation is marked by its subtlety and restraint. Much of the horror is implied rather than shown, allowing the audience's imagination to fill in the gaps. The film also plays with ambiguity, keeping viewers guessing about the true nature of the characters' intentions until the final act. This subtle approach makes the horror feel more sophisticated and unsettling. Strong performances. Logan Marshall Green delivers a compelling performance as Will, capturing his grief, paranoia, and growing sense of dread. The supporting cast, particularly Tammy Blanchard and Mitchell Huseman, add depth to their roles, portraying characters who are both charming and deeply unsettling. John Carroll Lynch's portrayal of Pruitt is especially memorable, bringing a quiet menace to the character. Unconventional horror structure. Unlike many horror films that follow a predictable structure, The Invitation defies expectations by maintaining a slow, methodical build-up before delivering its shocking climax. This unconventional structure keeps the audience engaged and creates a more impactful and memorable horror experience. Themes of trust and betrayal. At its core, The Invitation is about trust and betrayal. The film explores the complexity of social dynamics, where friends and loved ones can harbor dark secrets. The horror lies in the breakdown of trust, as Will realizes that the people he once knew have become something unrecognizable and dangerous. The Invitation stands out in the horror genre for its masterful use of psychological tension, its exploration of grief and trauma, and its subtle, slow-burn approach to storytelling. It is a film that lingers in the mind long after the credits roll, offering a haunting commentary on the nature of belief, trust, and the human capacity for darkness. And that's all I have on The Invitation. But don't worry, I have 13 more movies I'll be sharing with you. What do you think they could be? How do you feel about The Invitation being on the list? Would it make it onto yours? I bet you thought it was going to be the 2022 version one, huh? Surprise! Let me know in the comments. I'd love to discuss horror more in depth with you all, so feel free to join the Wicked Encounters Discord group. If you like what I do and want to support me, maybe consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and clicking the little bell icon so you know when I post. If you want to support me in other ways, why not check out my Patreon? Speaking of, I'd like to give a great big thank you to my patrons, Nikala and Beefalump. You guys are simply the best. Well, that's all I've got time for today. So remember, I'm Allie, this is Wicked Encounters, and I'll see you next time. Bye!